finished reading Hamlet, and I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about my reactions to it. I have the New Folgers edition of the Hamlet, and as you can tell, it's a little old, and I have not been taking very good care of it. This is the copy that I had when I was in high school and was taking my AP English class in my senior year, I believe. Because it even says, like, it has my name and in the period I was in. I didn't realize his first period class. And then my teacher's name, which I spelled wrong. His name was Whitehead, and I spelled it Whithead. Anyway, and so that was, oh my gosh, that had been like 13 years ago-ish. And so this, like, copy has my notes from class, and just stuff on, like, some of it was like reacting to the sentence with like, no duh, and you think, and other stuff was like just rephrasing certain ways that things were said, or like words that weren't explained on the side but I needed an explanation for it, stuff like that. Pointing out evidence, which I don't really know what that pertains to because I don't remember what we were learning exactly, like, in that class. At this page, it has, like, evidence on each character. And then I actually went and would mark, like, here's an example, like, at the top of the pages with those symbols to say, like, oh, evidence was shown on that page. And then luckily I explained, like, in the writing, I would explain, like, what the evidence was that was showing. Most of it seemed to be stuff like Polonius was the first person to start saying that he was crazy, that Hamlet was crazy, and the first person to think it, the first person to say it out loud, and then the king started saying it because Polonius was saying it, and stuff like that. And then at the end of the acts, I had, like, a summary of what happened in the acts. So, I both enjoyed getting to read my old notes from my senior year, but also found it incredibly distracting. Because when I read Shakespeare, I pretty much ignore, like, all the notes on the side and just read what was actually being said, unless there's something that's confusing to me, and then I'll go look. But I can usually get through a few pages before that happens. So, but when it's, like, written in the margins like that, I can't really just ignore it, and so it was a little distracting for me. This is probably the third time I've read it, because I know I read it my senior year. Obviously, there's notes in it. I read it my first year of college, and I actually had a different edition of it, which I think I've gotten rid of. That edition didn't have any notes in it, so I don't remember if I actually read it when I had it in my college class, or if I just bought it because I was anticipating reading it for the class. But I don't remember. And then now I read it again, and I don't remember if I've read it any other times besides that, but I have read this book at least twice, maybe 3 or 4 times now. And I enjoyed it just as much this time as my previous readings. There was one thing that was different to me, is, like, in my memory, I always remember that Ophelia killed herself, but when they were describing it, it didn't sound like she killed herself. It sounded like she was crazy, and she was making the crowns, like, she's wearing. She was making flower crowns, and the branch broke, and she fell into the water, and she didn't realize she was in danger, and just drowned. It didn't sound like she did it on purpose. So that was, like, the only kind of newish thing that I took from it. Maybe next time I read it, I'll see it the other way, because there is some controversy in there, like, they didn't know whether she committed suicide or not. So I did love that. According to the articles that I was able to find, it is the most adapted and the most done play of all of Shakespeare's plays. And I'll link, like, all the different articles that I found interesting. I'll link them underneath so you guys can go visit them too. It has different, like, I don't want to call them spin-offs, but, like, there have been various renditions where they would take, like, different characters and remake them into their own plays. One example of that is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which, this is the 50th anniversary, so I want to say it was somewhere in the 60s that this was made. Let's see if it'll actually say on here. It's 1967 is when the hardcover edition was released. And so I still need to read the preface. I forgot to read the preface of this. It is supposed to be a comedy. It's supposed to be like, who would they say? I think they said Law and Hardy. I don't see on here. It does say Slap, the Marx Brothers, like it's in that vein. One of the things I had seen, I thought oh yeah, it is. It's in the back. It's in the blurb. It says that it's the Shakespearean Law and Hardy. And so I did not like this play at all. At all. I'm not going to go into it here because I want to focus mainly on Shakespeare's Hamlet, but I will be talking a little bit about why I didn't like it in my Magical Readathon wrap-up, because this was one of the books that I read for the readathon. So, and then there's like, it's obviously inspired a lot of things, so it also inspired the Klingon Hamlet. And the reason this was made was because of a line from one of the movies. I want to say it was the fourth movie. It was like called Undiscovered Country. And Chancellor, I had to write it down. I wrote so many notes for Hamlet down. Okay. What is his name? Chancellor Gorkon? I don't speak Klingon, so I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, and I'm assuming he's Klingon. But it says, you have never experienced Shakespeare until you have read him in the original Klingon. And so when that got said, of course, the Klingon Institute was like, oh my gosh, we need to make Shakespeare adaptations. And so from the introduction that's in here, it kind of sounds like they planned on making like many different Shakespeare plays and translating them back into the original Klingon. But as far as I know, this is the only one that's actually been produced and printed. It is the Klingon Hamlet. And so the way this is set up is there's a really cool introduction that talks about Shakespeare. It's like the introduction is as if Shakespeare really was Klingon and explaining his interpretation of Hamlet and how it really was in Klingon. I think it's supposed to be Camlet, and how it ended up becoming in English and all this stuff. So that's a really cool introduction. And then when you actually get into it, it has English on one side and then the original Klingon on the other side. You can kind of see that. Yeah. And then at the back, it has an appendices, of course. And in the appendices, it breaks down like individual scenes and describes how they would really have been in the original Klingon. So for like Act 1, Scene 2, it says Drooping Eye. Some Terran commentators have taken the references to tears as proving the Terran origin of the play. As is well known, Klingons do not have tear ducts. However, there is an extensive history in Klingon theater of references to tears. It is now believed that this was a dramatic convention originating from attempts by playwrights in some of the gorier schools of theater to shock their audiences by attributing this non-Klingon characteristic to their heroes. By Shakespeare's time, I think that's how it's pronounced. It's, can you see that? I can't tell what's reflecting my book and what's actually showing it in the video. But it's Shakespeare, and that's how Shakespeare's name was spelled in Klingon. This had become a mere dramatic commonplace. The practice has proved so pervasive, it has worked its way into Klingon mythology. Thus, Calus is said to have filled the ocean with his tears when his brother cast his father's sword to the sea. And so the whole, like, appendices is like that. I have been searching for this book for so long. I was so excited when I finally got it. If you saw it in my unhaul, I was like, oh my gosh, I finally have the Klingon Hamlet. And so I can't wait to go back and read the entire introduction and read the entire appendices and learn more about the Klingon Shakespeare. And then, so, there's obviously been other things that have been made based on Hamlet. I will take it to my grave that Lion King is based off of Hamlet. Like, there are so many similarities between it, from the uncle killing the brother to taking over his kingdom. There kind of was a relationship between him and Sarabi, but obviously it's a children's movie, so they didn't like show them as mating and stuff. They just had them as not co-rulers, but because he was obviously not co-ruling, but she was there, and everything obviously ended up happier. Timon and Pumbaa are like, I guess, a better version of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern because they actually interacted with him and are his trusted companions, unlike Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, who are very much not in the play. But so there's heavy similarities and there's huge differences, but I still maintain that Lion King was loosely based on Hamlet, just like Lion King 2 was loosely based on Romeo and Juliet. So, one last thing I forgot to say about the Klingon Hamlet. So this was, I want to say this was like in the early 2000s or something when this was produced. And in 2000, no, that's the founding of it. So actually this was produced in 1996, according to this page on the front. But in 2010, selections of Hamlet and Much Ado About Nothing were performed in Klingon by the Washington Shakespeare Company for a fundraiser. And I just think that's really, really cool. Let's see. What else did I write down about Hamlet? So Hamlet is apparently the longest of all of Shakespeare's plays. In 1996, Kenneth Branagh did do the movie form of it, and it was the only film of Hamlet that has included all of the lines from Hamlet. And I believe he even like looked at the different versions of Hamlet, because there's different quartets or something, and like combined them together so it'd have the most complete of all of the Hamlet lines in Shakespeare. And that movie ended up running just over 4 hours. So it is a very long play. In my mind, for some reason, all of his plays are like 2 hours, but that was like over 4 hours. So it was a very long play. And Mel Gibson did do the movie as well in 1990, but we don't talk about that version. I saw it when I was in something. I want to say I was in 8th grade, or 9th grade, but if it was in my English class, and I must have been a senior. But yeah, I'm still mad that they made like the whole incestuous thing between Hamlet and Gertrude, because I maintain that that is not in the play, but apparently there's some debate about that too. Apparently people like to debate about Hamlet, but I did not like that in the movie. I was like, that's not in the book. It shouldn't be in the movie. And I was very offended with my little high school self. And so we don't talk about the movie. Even though I just talked about the movie, we don't talk about the movie. Anyway, what other notes? I have so many notes on this play. I had to like cross out Julius Caesar because I had broken down the play, like each half of the page was supposed to be a different play. But Hamlet just got its own whole page apparently. So Hamlet is based off of the legend of Amleth, which was a Scandinavian legend that was first recorded in the 13th century by Saxo Grammaticus. That is a cool name. I want my last name to be Grammaticus. I mean, I love my last name, but that's just a cool last name. Just saying. Let's see. There are also other legends that bear resemblance to that, but that one is the one that's like specifically named. There are legends in like many different cultures that bear resemblance to the basic plotline of Hamlet. It is considered one of the most quoted works in the English language, second only to the Bible, which is huge because the Bible is like really widely quoted. So to think that Hamlet is the second most quoted is like crazy. And admittedly, I did find like some things in Hamlet that I didn't realize were from Hamlet. Like when he's talking about like doubt not that I love thee, like I thought that was from one of his sonnets or something. I didn't realize that was from Hamlet. So I was really excited about that. Let's see. Oh, one of the productions, so this was the play. It was directed by Lindsay Turner, produced by Sonia Friedman, and Benedict Cumberbatch played Hamlet. This was in 2015. It ran for 12 weeks, and it is considered to be the most in-demand theater production of all time. That production sold out within 7 hours. A little over a year before opening day. So, like a year out, it was sold out. Like, and I don't know I feel Cursed Child probably came close to that. Because I remember that being sold out a lot. But I don't remember what year Cursed Child was. And this was in 2015. So, pretty cool. And then I think that's actually all the notes that I had written down for Hamlet. But yeah, so Hamlet is awesome. Hamlet is everywhere. It is widely quoted. I did realize after reading this, you always see people holding the skull and doing the whole to be or not to be speech. But those were two different speeches in different parts of the play. So when he's talking to Yorick's skull or looking at Yorick's skull, he's not doing the to be or not to be speech. So I thought that was pretty awesome because I always think that is that spot for that speech, and it's not. But Shakespeare, oh my gosh, I'm enjoying the Shakespeare Month so much. I think, let's see, I did Romeo and Juliet, Much Ado About Nothing, King Lear, and now Hamlet. So I've done 4 out of 36 plays. I am now on As You Like It. It is now the second week. There's only like 4 weeks in the month. I would have thought I would have had like 14 books of them read by now because I expected it to take today's the 11th. I thought I'd have like 10 read by now because I expected to be able to read 1 a day, but that is not happening. It's averaging about 2 to 3 days per play. Plus I've been reading some in between, like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead and Romeo and Juliet the War, and so that's taking extra time too. So I don't think I'm going to be able to read all of Shakespeare's plays in just this 1 month. But I do really, really want to read all of his plays. So we'll see how I feel at the end of the month. I may end up extending it an extra month and fitting in the Aragon books in the middle there because I want to get them read before Christopher Poloni comes to Albuquerque. But I am really, really enjoying the Shakespeare Month thing so far. I have enjoyed every play that I've read. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of his plays. And I'm having a blast. I'm so glad that I'm doing this. Anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.